পরম করুণা কহু দুই জন নিতাই গৌর চন্দ্র পরম করুণা কহু দুই জন নিতাই গৌর চন্দ্র
and Gaurachandra are supremely merciful. They are the essence and the crown jewels of all avatars, and they are the source of absolute bliss.
O brother, worship Nita Chaitanya Nita with unwavering faith, pronouncing material enjoyment and drowning yourself in that rasa of worshipping them. Let your lips chant Hari Hari.
Trust see, dear brother, in all the three worlds, no one bestows mercy like they do. Animals and birds shed tears, and stones melt upon hearing narrations of their glory.
Lochan Das says, since you remain submerged in material enjoyment, the aspiration to take shelter of their lotus feet has not arisen. Thus, you suffer the consequences of your own misdeeds, as meted out by Lord John.
Jai Srila Lochan Das Thakur ki
Jai.
Jai Gauranga Nahi. By Srila Narahari Sarkar. This is one of Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj's often quoted songs. That if Gauranga had not come, how could we have gone on living? He would say that. Kemoni Dori today. If Shri Gauranga had not appeared, then what would have become of us? How would we have survived? Who could have taught the world about the glories of Srimati Radharani, the topmost limit of Prem Ras? Madhura Vrinda Vipina Madhuri Pravesha Chaturi Sa Varaja Yuvati Bhavera Bhakati Shakati Hoi Toka. Who would have had true insight, Chaturi, to enter the sweet rapture of Madhura Vrinda Vipina Madhuri, of the Vrinda Devi, the forest of Vrinda Devi? And who would have had the power to render loving service in the mood of the damsels of Vraja? Vraja Yuvati Bhavir Bhakati Shakati Vaitoka. Who would have had the power, Shakti? Gau Puna Puna Gaurangera Guna Sarala Hoya. With a very simple heart, Sarala Hoya. Sing about Gauranga's glorious qualities. Gau Puna Puna. Again and again. I cannot see even one person, a Bhavasagare, in this entire ocean of material existence. I cannot see even one single person, Amonadoya, as merciful as he. Nadeki Je Ek Jan, not even one person as merciful as he. Gauranga Balia, Nagenu Galia, Kemone Dorinu De. Even though I chant Gauranga, but my heart, it has not melted. So, Kemone Dorinu De. How do I continue to maintain this body? How has Narahari been created with what? Without a heart. Narahari hiya, pashanadiya. With a stone placed where the heart is supposed to be. Stone. These are the lamentations of our acharyas. So imagine what our lamentation should be. They have prem. They have Gauranga prem. Okay, we'll sing this song. Jadi Gauranga nahi to tabe ki hoy to kemone rasa sima jagate janato ke Radhara Mahima Prema Rasa Sima 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 Jagate Janato Ke Madhura Vrinda Vipina Madhuri Pravesha Chaduri Sa Madhura Vrinda Vipina Madhuri Pravesha Chaduri Sa Madhura Vrinda Vipina Madhuri Pravesha Chaturi Sa Varaja Jugati Bhavera Bhakti Gaurangera Guna Sarala Hoya Ma Gaurangera Guna Sarala Hoya Ma Gaurangera Guna Sarala Hoya Ma Bhavasagare Emana Jaya Bhavasagare Gauriya Negenu Gauriya Kemone Dorinu De Gauranga Gauriya Negenu Gauriya Kemone Dorinu De Honor Hariya Pashana Diya Honor Hariya Pashana Diya Kemone Gariya Che Kemone Gariya Che Jaya Sachidanand Jaya Gaura Hari Sachidanand Jaya Gaura Hari Jaya Sachidanand Jaya Gaura Hari Sachidanand Jaya Gaura Hari Gaura He, Gaura He, Gaura He, Gaura He. their schedule.
When everyone's hungry, sometimes we still Hare Katha.
But maybe you'll all forget your from the
That's
heart
always
to the top.
possible.
And then you won't eat till 5 p.m. That could happen. I don't know. It's very dangerous. This Krishna Katha.
Once we start drinking this nectar,
Ni Radha Krishna. That's what? Oh. Hari Hari what? Kabhi more. Hoy Besu. Okay.
Obey,
Jai Shri Raghunath Das Swami Pad Ki
Jai.
Raghunath Das Swami Pad Chiradahi Festival Ki Jai. Jai Nityananda Rai Ki Jai. Jai Nityananda Danda Mahotsav Festival Ki Jai. Gaura Premanandi.
Hari Hari Bol.
So we're very happy to be able to come and observe this festival on this very day when Raghunath Das Goswami was punished by Nityananda Prabhu. That's why it's called Danda Mahotsav. But what kind of punishment? Oh, so much mercy coming to him. We'll hear about that because we're going to read from that very chapter of Anchalila, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Gurve Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Tadalaya Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Mukam Karoti Vachalam Angam Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Bande Shri Gurun Dinataranam. Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Mahabhadanaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratishe Nityanandam Namastubhyam Prem Ananda Pradayane Kalo Kalamashanashaya Janavapataye Namaha. Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhaktashaktikam. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopikakanta Radhakanta Namostute. Takta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Padi Priye. Bhaktya Vihina Parada Laksha Kittascha Kamari Tarangamadhi Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapanna Vrinde Namaste Charanarvindam. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. First of all, I'm offering my unlimited Dandavat Pranams, my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Gurudev Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Astotarashata Sri Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada. Then I'm offering my same unlimited Dandavat Pranams and my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipable, beloved Siksha Gurudevs. Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Asto Tarashata Shri Shila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj and Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Asto Tarashata Shri Shila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I offer my Dandavat Pranams at the lotus feet of all of my Sri Sri Rupanuga Guru Varga. And I offer my Dandavat Pranams to all the Vaishnavas and to all the Vaishnavas. So today, in observance of this most auspicious festival day on our Vaishnava calendar, the day of the special festival at Panihati, when Srila Raghunath Das Goswami came there to see Lord Nityananda Prabhu. And why was he coming to see Lord Nityananda Prabhu? Because he needed a lot of mercy. He was trapped. He was imprisoned. His heart was at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He wanted to go, but he was held back. Held back with ropes, binding him, guards surrounding him, to not be able to go to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We cannot imagine how it would be that Mahaprabhu is right on the planet. He's in Jagannath Puri. And you want to go to him, but you are being prevented by who? Your very loving and affectionate parents, who have so much attachment and love and affection for you that they cannot let go. And therefore, they think that your service to them, your family dharma, is superior. It is in a more important position than absolute full surrender at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this chapter is titled The Meeting of Srila Raghunath Goswami, Das Goswami with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And it narrates the story, starting from the beginning, when Mahaprabhu came nearby to the village of Srila Raghunath Das Goswami. And then Raghunath Das Goswami wanted to go there to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So I'm reading in the first verse, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraja Goswami. He is telling, as he does in every chapter, he has composed a Sanskrit verse that gives the main theme of the subject matter of each chapter. Kripa Gunairya Kubrihanda Kupad Udritya Bangya Raghunatha Dasam Nyasya Swarupe Vidadheyam Tarangam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Omum Prapati. With the ropes of his causeless mercy, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu employed a trick to deliver Raghunath Das Goswami from the blind well of contemptible family life. He made Raghunath Das Goswami one of his personal associates, placing him under the charge of Swarup Damodar Goswami. I offer my obeisances unto him. So, one thing we have to understand before we dive into this chapter Here we have heard the term contemptible family life. What does that mean? That means this is not a very good situation. But does that mean that the Grihastha ashram, which is a bona fide ashram in Vedic culture, is to be looked upon as being contemptible? No. That is not the lesson to be learned here. Because this is part of Varnashram Dharma. It is part of the gradual step-by-step advancement of the jivas. But what is being shown here in the life history of Srila Raghunath Das Goswami is the gradual attainment of very exalted states of supreme loving attachment to Krishna. This is not the stage of neophyte, kanishta, even madhyam. But Raghunath Das Goswami is showing the example that when the jiva comes to this stage, prior to the stage of bhav, of course Raghunath Das Goswami has descended from Goloka Vrindavan, we know that. But by the will of Krishna and by the potency of Yoga Maya, the associates of the Lord, they show us an example that we can try to emulate and try to follow in our life. So, Srila Raghunath Das Goswami is actually the example of how all devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu may eventually, either in this life, in next life, or whichever lifetime, that we are successful in advancing to the stage, beyond the stages of sadhana bhakti and coming to the stage of bhav bhakti, where there is shuddha sattva visheshatma, directly transcendental potency from the spiritual world is coming into our hearts. In that stage, nothing, no one, no situation can hold that devotee back. Impossible. He must give up everything in this world. Internally, full detachment. Absolute full detachment and full attachment to Krishna. But this cannot be imitated. It is very unwise to try to imitate the stage of such advancement prior to one's qualification, adhikar, developing. So we should bear that in mind as we hear the story of Raghunath Das Goswami. But I remember seeing a drama of this story being performed in our Rup Sanatan Gaudiya Math. I believe it was probably 1997, Brajmandala Parikrama, and our Gurudev Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj was sitting on a small little stage with a few of his godbrothers, Srila Srivikram Maharaj and others. And the play, the drama was being depicted by the devotees. And quite well done. And throughout the whole history, especially when Raghunath Das Goswami successfully could escape, and when he began running and running and running to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Very long journey, takes at least about 30 days normally, but he was running for 11 days, eating only 3 times during those 11 days, because he was mad in his attachment for Mahaprabhu. This is what we want. We want to become madmen. We want to become madmen in love for Krishna. So, and when this play was being enacted, all of us were also observing our Gurudev. So many emotions were coming, and all the very elevated senior Vaishnavas weeping and weeping. It was very, very amazing. So, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. E Mata Gaura Chandra Bhakta Gana Sanghe, Nila Chale Nana Lila Kori Nana Rangi. So thus, Lord Gaurachandra performed various pastimes with his associates at Jagannath Puri in varieties of transcendental pleasure. Although Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu felt pangs of separation from Krishna, he did not manifest his feelings externally, for he feared the unhappiness of his devotees. So the transformations undergone by the Lord when he manifested severe unhappiness due to separation from Krishna cannot be described, although we hear description of it in the Antya Leela, Mahaprabhu's ecstatic manifestations, transformations of his body. But still, Kaviraj Goswami is saying it cannot be described. When the Lord acutely felt pangs of separation from Krishna, only Sri Ramananda Roy's talks about Krishna and the sweet songs of Swarup Damodar kept him alive. Because the Lord associated with various devotees during the day, his mind was somewhat diverted, but at night, the pangs of separation from Krishna increased very rapidly. Two people, Ramananda Roy and Swarup Damodar Goswami, they stayed with the Lord to pacify him by reciting various verses about Krishna's pastimes and by singing appropriate songs for his satisfaction. Previously, when Lord Krishna was personally present, then Subal, one of his cowherd boyfriends, gave him happiness when he felt separation from Radharani. And similarly, Ramananda Roy helped give happiness to Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And previously, when Srimati Radharani felt the pangs of separation from Krishna, her constant companion Lalita kept her alive by helping her in many ways. Similarly, when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu felt Radharani's emotions, Swarup Damodar Goswami helped him maintain his life. So to describe the fortunate position of Ramananda Roy and Swarup Damodar Goswami is extremely difficult. How can we imagine how fortunate these two personalities? They were renowned as intimately confidential friends of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So the Lord thus enjoyed his life with his devotees. O devotees, now hear how Raghunath Das Goswami met Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When Raghunath Das, during his family life, went to meet Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Shantipur, the Lord gave him worthy instructions by his causeless mercy. So Raghunath Das Goswami, he was fortunate to meet Mahaprabhu at Shantipur and also to receive very merciful instructions from him. We're going to hear the nature of those instructions. So instead of becoming a so-called renunciant, Raghunath Das followed the instructions of the Lord. He returned home and he played exactly like a pounds and shilling man. This is a British saying. Pounds and shilling man. Who was wealthy. So Raghunath Das, he was inwardly completely renounced even in family life. But he did not express his renunciation externally. Instead, he acted just like an ordinary businessman. And seeing this, his father and mother, they were satisfied. our son Raghunath, now he has become attached to his family duties and he is being very dutiful. Okay, now they were relaxed. When he received a message that Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had returned from Mathura city, Raghunath Das endeavored to go to the lotus feet of the Lord. At that time there was a Muslim official who was collecting the taxes of Saptagram, that's the village where he was residing. So when Hiranyadas, this is the uncle of Raghunath Das, when Hiranyadas made an agreement with the government to collect taxes, the Muslim Chaudhuri, or the tax collector, having lost his position, became extremely envious of him. So, we should note that Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, his father and uncle, Govardhan Majumdar and Hiranya Majumdar, they were extremely wealthy landowners. By today's standards, at least in Western money, it would be very multi-millionaires. And also, because they were landowners, so taxes had to be paid to the government and so forth. But this Muslim official, he became envious because that Muslim tax collector had lost his position. So now, Hiranyadas was collecting 2 million coins. And these were not coins like nowadays. These were gold coins, silver coins. So Hiranyadas was collecting 2 million coins, and therefore he should have delivered 1,500,000 to the government. But instead, he was giving only 1,200,000. And thus making an extra profit of 300,000 coins. Now seeing this, the Muslim Chaudhuri, who was a Turk, is from Turkey, yes. So he became his rival, that Muslim Chaudhuri. So after sending a confidential account to the government treasury, the Chaudhuri brought the minister in charge. The Chaudhuri came wanting to arrest Hiranyadas, but Hiranyadas had left home. Yes. So therefore the Chaudhuri arrested who? Raghunath Das. Now every day the Muslim would chastise Raghunath Das and tell him, bring your father and his elder brother, otherwise you will be punished. And the Chaudhuri wanted to beat him. But as soon as he saw Raghunath's face, his mind changed and he could not beat him. Indeed, the Chaudhuri was afraid of Raghunath Das because Raghunath Das belonged to the Kayastha community. And although the Chaudhuri would chastise him with oral vibrations, he was afraid to beat him. So while this was going on, Raghunath Das thought of a tricky method of escape. Thus, he humbly submitted this plea at the feet of the Muslim Chaudhuri. He said to the Muslim, Raghunath Das Goswami said to the Muslim Chaudhuri, my dear sir, my father and his elder brother are your brothers. All brothers always fight about something. Well, sometimes brothers fight among themselves. Sometimes they have very friendly dealings. But there is no certainty when such changes will take place. And thus I am sure that although today you are fighting, but tomorrow you 3 brothers will be sitting together in peace. And just as I am my father's son, so I am also your son. I am your dependent, and you are my maintainer. So for a maintainer, to punish the person he maintains is not good. So you can see that Raghunath Das is buttering him up and melting his heart with human emotions and all of that. So, just as I am my father's son, so I am also yours, and I am your dependent, and you are my maintainer. For a maintainer to punish the person he maintains is not good. So you are expert in all the scriptures, and indeed you are like a living saint. So he's giving so many compliments to him. Now when the Muslim heard Raghunath Das's appealing voice, his heart softened. He began to cry, and tears glided down his beard. So the Muslim Chaudhary told Raghunath Das, "You are my son from this day on, and today, by some means, I shall have you released." So after informing the minister, the Chaudhary released Raghunath Das, and then he began to speak to him with great affection. He said, "Your father's elder brother is less intelligent. He enjoys 800,000 coins, but since I am also a shareholder, he should give some portion of it to me. Now you go, arrange a meeting between me and your uncle, let him do whatever he thinks best, and I shall completely depend on his decision." So Raghunath Das arranged a meeting between his uncle and the Chaudhary. The matter was settled and everything was peaceful. In this way, Raghunath Das passed 1 year exactly like a first-class business manager. But the next year, he again decided to leave home. He got up alone one night and he left. But his father caught him in a distant place and brought him back. This became almost a daily affair. Raghunath would run away from home and his father would again bring him back. And then Raghunath Das's mother spoke to his father as follows. "Our son has become mad," she said. "Just keep him by binding him with ropes." Then his father, being very unhappy, replied to her as follows. "Raghunath Das, our son, has opulences like Indra, the heavenly king, and his wife is as beautiful as an angel. Yet all this could not tie down his mind. How then could we keep this boy home by binding him with ropes? It is not possible even for one's father to nullify the reactions of one's past activities. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has fully bestowed his mercy on him. Who can keep home such a madman of Chaitanya Chandra?" So they were Vaishnavas. Father, uncle, they were Vaishnavas, but they had a lot of attachment. Then Raghunath Das, he considered something in his mind. And the next day he went to Nityananda Gosai. In the village of Panihati, Raghunath Das obtained an interview with Nityananda Prabhu, who was accompanied by many kirtan performers and servants and others. How many of you have been to Panihati ever? Raise your hand if you've ever visited Panihati. No? Oh. There's a tree in that same place, right on the bank of the river there, in Panihati. The tree that Lord Nityananda sat under. I don't know if it's the same tree, but it's in the same location. So now, Raghunath Das, the next day he went to Nityananda Gosai. So in the village of Panihati, Raghunath Das obtained an interview with Nityananda Prabhu, who was accompanied by many kirtan performers, servants, and others. And sitting on a rock under a tree on the bank of the Ganges, Lord Nityananda seemed as effulgent as hundreds of thousands of rising suns. Many devotees sat on the ground surrounding him, and seeing the influence of Nityananda Prabhu, Raghunath Das was astonished. Raghunath Das offered his obeisances by falling prostrate at a distant place, and the servant of Nityananda Prabhu pointed out, "Oh, there is Raghunath Das offering you obeisances." Hearing this, Lord Nityananda Prabhu said, does anyone know what Lord Nityananda said to Raghunath Das? He said, let me read the Bengali. Shuni Prabhu kohe, Chora dili darshan, I, aji tora korimu dandana. Hearing this, Lord Nityananda Prabhu said, you are a thief. Now you have come to see me. Come here, today I shall punish you. Then the Lord called him, but Raghunath did not go near to the Lord. Then the Lord forcibly caught him, and he placed his lotus feet upon Raghunath Das's head. Oh, do you want that to happen to you someday? Please tell me. Do you want the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda Prabhu on your heads?
Yes.
Okay. You're still alive. Now, Lord Nityananda was by nature very merciful, and he was also very funny. And being merciful, he spoke to Raghunath Das as follows. You are just like a thief, for instead of coming near, you stay away at a distant place. But now that I have captured you, I shall punish you. And what was the punishment? Now he gave him the instruction. Make a festival and feed all my associates with yogurt and chipped rice. And hearing this, Raghunath Das was greatly pleased. So what is chipped rice called in Bengali? Chira. I think they have another name for it too, don't they? Poha or something. They also call it.
Poha is something made out of tea.
Oh, okay. So still it's called chira. Okay. Chile. Okay. Now, when he heard this instruction from Lord Nityananda that he should make a festival and feed all the associates of Lord Nityananda yogurt and chipped rice, he became so pleased, Raghunath Das. And then Raghunath Das immediately sent his own men to the village to purchase all kinds of eatables and to bring them back. Raghunath Das brought, here's the list. I'll read the Bengali. Chira, Dadi, Dugda, Sandesh, Archini, Kala, Sab Dravya, Anaya, Chaudike, Darila. Raghunath Das brought chipped rice, yogurt, milk, sweetmeats, sugar, bananas, and other eatables, and placed them all around. Now, as soon as they heard that a festival was going to be held, all kinds of brahmanas and other gentlemen began to arrive, and thus there were innumerable people. So seeing the crowd increasing, Raghunath Das arranged to get more eatables from other villages. He also brought 200 to 400 large, round earthen pots. He also obtained 5 or 7 especially large earthen pots. And in these pots, a brahmana began soaking the chipped rice for the satisfaction of Lord Nityananda. Now, who knows what recipe was being used? In one place, the chipped rice was soaked in hot milk in each of the large pots. Then half the rice was mixed with yogurt, sugar, and bananas. And the other half was mixed with condensed milk and a special type of banana known as champa kala. Then sugar, clarified butter, and camphor were added. Now, after Nityananda Prabhu had changed his cloth for a new one, and he sat on a raised platform, Then the Brahmin brought before him the 7 huge pots. On that platform, all the most important associates of Sri Nityananda Prabhu, as well as other important men, they sat down in a circle around the Lord. So among them were Ram Das, Sundarananda, Gadadhar Das, Murari, Kamalakara, Sadashiv, and Purandara, Dhananjaya, Jagadish, Parameshvara Das, Mahesh, Gauri Das, and Hoda Krishna Das. They were also there. And similarly, Udaran Dutt Thakur and many other personal associates of the Lord, they sat on the raised platform with Nityananda Prabhu, and no one could count them all. So hearing about the festival, all kinds of learned scholars, Brahmins and priests, they went there. Lord Nityananda Prabhu honored them, and he made them sit on the raised platform with him. Everyone was offered 2 earthen pots. How many earthen pots?
2.
How many hands do you all have?
2.
So both hands were filled with earthen pots. So in one of those earthen pots was put chipped rice with condensed milk. And in the other pot was put chipped rice with yogurt. All the other people sat in groups around the platform. No one could count how many people were there. Each and every one of them was supplied with 2 earthen pots, one of chipped rice soaked in yogurt, the other of chipped rice soaked in condensed milk. Now, some of the Brahmins, not having gotten a place on the platform, they went to the bank of the Ganga with their 2 earthen pots. And then they soaked their chipped rice there. Others who could not get a place even on the bank of the Ganga got down into the water and began eating their 2 kinds of chipped rice. Now I began wondering when I was reading this yesterday. You have 2 pots. You're standing in the Ganga. You're standing in the Ganga with 2 pots in your 2 hands. You stack them. Oh, very intelligent. Okay. Solved. This great mystery is solved. Now, yes. Now thus, some sat on the platform, some at the base of the platform, and some on the bank of the Ganga, and they were all supplied 2 pots each by the 20 men who distributed the food. At that time, Raghava Pandit arrived there. Seeing the situation, he began to laugh in great surprise. Now, if you go to Panihati, some little distance away from the bank of the Ganga there is the house of Raghava Pandit. And Raghava Pandit, as you know, was a very intimate associate of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. What was his sister's name? Damayanti. And what did they do every year? Damayanti and Raghava Pandit. Huh? They made all kinds of achar and so many condiments, so many preparations that would last 1 year. This type, pickles, everything. And who are they making it for? For Mahaprabhu, that he could take all throughout the entire year along with his Mahaprasad. And how did they transport all of these preparations, hundreds of preparations? They put them into cloth bags. They wrapped them into cloth bags. And they had baskets on their heads. And they put them on their heads. So these cloth bags, they got a name. Raghavera Jhali. Jhali means bag. And the bags of Raghava Pandit. So they would walk all the way to Puri. And I'll tell you, in the house of Raghava Pandit, there is this amazing, beautiful, it's almost as big as this wall here, a relief, like a sculpture, a relief sculpture, showing all the devotees, because they were in a large group, and they're walking on their way They're walking on their way to Puri. And they look like they're completely mad. Their eyes in ecstasy that they're going to Mahaprabhu is such an amazing relief figure. Yes. So, anyway, Raghava, he didn't know that this was all going on, and when Raghava Pandit came there to the bank of the Ganga, he was very surprised. There were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people in such a festival taking place. And then he began to laugh in very great surprise. So he brought many kinds of food cooked in ghee and also offered to the Lord. And this prasadam he first placed before Lord Nityananda and then distributed amongst the devotees. Then Raghava Pandit said to Lord Nityananda, "For you, O sir, I have already offered food to the deity, but you are engaged in a festival here, and so the food is lying there untouched." So then Lord Nityananda replied, "Let me eat all this food here during the day, and then I shall eat at your home at night." And then Nityananda Prabhu said, "I belong to a community of cowherd boys, and therefore I generally have many cowherd associates with me. And I am happy when we eat together in a picnic like this by the sandy bank of the river." So Lord Nityananda made Raghava Pandit sit down and had 2 pots delivered to him also. So there were 2 kinds of chipped rice soaked in them. Now when the chipped rice had been served to everyone, Lord Nityananda Prabhu in meditation, what did Lord Nityananda do? He brought, in meditation, he brought Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu from Jagannath Puri. And when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu arrived, Lord Nityananda Prabhu stood up. They then saw how the others were enjoying the chipped rice with yogurt and condensed milk. From each and every pot, Lord Nityananda Prabhu took 1 morsel of chipped rice and pushed it into the mouth of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as a joke. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, also smiling, took a morsel of food, pushed it into the mouth of Nityananda, and laughed as he made Lord Nityananda eat it. So in this way, Lord Nityananda was walking through all the groups of eaters, and all the Vaishnavas standing there were seeing the fun. But no one could understand what Nityananda Prabhu was doing as he walked about. Some, however, who were very fortunate, they could see that Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was also present. So then Nityananda Prabhu smiled and he sat down. And on his right side he kept 4 pots of chipped rice that had not been made from boiled paddy. Lord Nityananda offered Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu a place and he had him sit down. Then together the 2 brothers began eating chipped rice. And seeing Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu eating with him, Lord Nityananda Prabhu became very happy and he exhibited varieties of ecstatic love. And Lord Nityananda Prabhu ordered, "All of you eat," chanting the holy name of Hari. And immediately the holy names, Hari, Hari, resounded, filling the entire universe. What holy names? Hari, Hari. What holy names? Hari, Hari. And when all the Vaishnavas were chanting the holy names, Hari, Hari, and they were eating, then they remembered how Krishna and Balaram ate with their companions, the cowherd boys, on the bank of the Yamuna. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda Prabhu are extremely merciful and liberal, and it was Raghunath Das's good fortune that they accepted all these dealings. Who can understand the influence and the mercy of Lord Nityananda Prabhu? He is so powerful that he induced Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to come eat chipped rice on the bank of the Ganga. All the confidential devotees, who were cowherd boys, headed by Sri Ram Das, they were absorbed in ecstatic love. They thought the bank of the Ganga to be the bank of the Yamuna. And when the shopkeepers of many other villages heard about the festival, they arrived there to sell chipped rice, yogurt, sweetmeats, and bananas. And as they came bringing all kinds of food, Raghunath Das purchased it all. And he gave them the price for their goods, and later he fed them the very same food. Anyone who came to see how these funny things were going on was also fed chipped rice, yogurt, and bananas. So after the Lord Nityananda finished eating, he washed his hands and his mouth, and he gave Raghunath Das the food remaining in the 4 pots. There was food remaining in 3 other big pots of Lord Nityananda, and a Brahmin distributed it to all the devotees, giving a morsel to each. So everyone got Mahaprasad of Lord Nityananda and Mahaprasad. So then a Brahmin brought a flower garland, placed the garland on Nityananda Prabhu's neck, and smeared sandalwood pulp all over his body. And when a servant brought betel nuts and offered them to Lord Nityananda, the Lord smiled and he chewed them. And with his own hands, Lord Nityananda Prabhu distributed to all the devotees whatever flower garlands, sandalwood pulp, and betel nuts remained. Then after receiving the remnants of food left by Lord Nityananda Prabhu, Raghunath Das, who was greatly happy, he ate some and he distributed the rest among his own associates. Thus I have described the pastimes of Lord Nityananda Prabhu in relation to the celebrated festival of chipped rice and yogurt. Nityananda Prabhu rested for the day, and when the day ended, he went to the temple of Raghava Pandit, and he began congregational chanting of the holy name of the Lord. Lord Nityananda Prabhu first influenced all the devotees to dance, and finally he himself began dancing, thus inundating the entire world in ecstatic love. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was observing the dancing of Lord Nityananda Prabhu, so Mahaprabhu didn't leave to go back to Puri. He's still there. And so Nityananda Prabhu could see this, that Mahaprabhu was observing, but the others, they could not see. The dancing of Lord Nityananda Prabhu, like the dancing of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, cannot be compared to anything within these 3 worlds. No one can properly describe the sweetness of Lord Nityananda's dancing. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally comes to see it. And after the dancing, and after Lord Nityananda had rested, Raghava Pandit submitted his request that the Lord take his supper. Do any of you here want to see the dancing of Lord Nityananda?
Yes.
Sometime in this life? You want to see it in this very life? Or you want to wait to the next life?
This life.
This life, okay. We're going to find out what we're going to have to do to see the dancing of Lord Nityananda in this life. Yes? Okay. So now, Lord Nityananda sat down for supper with his personal associates, and he made a sitting place on his right side for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came there, sat down at his place. Seeing this, Raghava Pandit felt increasing happiness. Raghava Pandit brought the prasadam before the 2 brothers, and thereafter he distributed prasadam to all the other Vaishnavas. And there were varieties of cakes, sweet rice, fine cooked rice that surpassed the taste of nectar. There were also varieties of vegetables. And the food prepared and offered to the deity by Raghava Pandit was like the essence of nectar. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came there again and again to eat such prasadam. When Raghava Pandit offered the food to the deity after cooking, he would make a separate offering for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Every day, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would eat at the house of Raghava Pandit. Sometimes he would give Raghava Pandit the opportunity to see him. And Raghava Pandit would bring and distribute prasadam to the 2 brothers, feeding them with great attention. They ate everything, and therefore there were no remnants left. He brought so many presentations that no one could know them perfectly. Indeed, it was a fact that the Supreme Mother, Radharani, personally cooked in the house of Raghava Pandit. Did you know that? Yes. Now you know. Today you learned. I also learned that Radharani herself cooks in the house of Raghava Pandit. Now, Srimati Radharani, she had received. What did she receive? She received a benediction from Durvasa Muni. Do you know that? In Krishna Lila, that Radharani received a benediction from Durvasa Muni? And what was that benediction? Anyone knows? Yes. That whatever she cooked would be sweeter than nectar. That is the special feature of her cooking. Aromatic and pleasing to see, the food was the essence of all sweetness. And thus the two brothers, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda Prabhu, ate it with a great satisfaction. All the devotees present, they requested Raghunath Das to sit down and to take prasadam. But Raghava Pandit told them he will take prasadam later. Now all the devotees took prasadam, filling themselves to the brim. Did you hear that? How much did they fill themselves? To the what?
Brim.
To the brim. How much is that? The brim. Yeah. Sometimes they say to the neck. Yes. So thereafter, chanting the holy name of Hari, they stood up and they washed their hands and mouths. And after eating, the two brothers washed their hands and mouths. Then Raghava Pandit brought flower garlands and sandalwood pulp, and he decorated them. Raghava Pandit offered them betel nuts, and he worshipped their lotus feet. He also distributed betel nuts, flower garlands, and sandalwood pulp to the devotees. Raghava Pandit, being very merciful toward Raghunath Das, offered him the dishes with the remnants of food left by the two brothers. Then he said, Nityananda Prabhu said, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has eaten this food. If you take his remnants, you will be released from the bondage of your family. The Supreme Personality of Godhead always resides either in the heart or in the home of a devotee. This fact is sometimes hidden and sometimes it is manifest. For the Supreme Personality of Godhead is fully independent. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is all-pervasive, and therefore he resides everywhere. Anyone who doubts this will be annihilated. You have any doubters in this room here? I'm not going to walk nearby to you if you're a doubter. Now in the morning, after taking his bath in the Ganga, Nityananda Prabhu sat down with his associates beneath the same tree under which he had previously sat. Raghunath Das went there and he worshipped Lord Nityananda's lotus feet. Through Raghava Pandit, he submitted his desire. Now listen carefully to Raghunath Das Goswami's desire, his expression of his desire to Lord Nityananda Prabhu. And what Lord Nityananda responded to him. This is the high point of this pastime. Raghunath Das said, I am the lowest of men, the most sinful, fallen, and condemned. Nevertheless, I desire to attain shelter at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And like a dwarf who wants to catch the moon, I have tried my best many times, but I have never been successful. Every time I tried to go away and give up my home relationships, my father and mother unfortunately kept me bound. No one can attain the shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu without your mercy, O Lord Nityananda. But if you are merciful, then even the lowest of men can attain shelter at his lotus feet. Although I am unfit and greatly afraid to submit this plea, I nevertheless request you, O Nityananda Prabhu, to be especially merciful toward me by granting me shelter at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Placing your feet on my head, give me the benediction that I may achieve the shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu without difficulty. I pray for this benediction. And after hearing this appeal by Raghunath Das, Lord Nityananda Prabhu smiled and he told all the devotees, Raghunath Das's standard of material happiness, it is equal to that of Indra, the king of heaven. But because of the mercy bestowed upon him by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Raghunath Das, although situated in such material happiness, he does not like it at all. And therefore let every one of you be merciful toward him and give him the benediction that he may very soon attain the shelter at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. One who experiences the fragrance of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, he does not value even the standard of happiness available in Brahmalok, the topmost planet. So what to speak of heavenly happiness? Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is offered sublime poetic prayers by those trying to attain his favor. And thus he is known as Uttama Shloka. So being very eager to gain the association of Lord Krishna, King Bharat, although in the prime of his youth, he gave up his very attractive wife, his affectionate children, most beloved friends, his opulent kingdom, exactly as one gives up stool after excreting it. And then Lord Nityananda Prabhu called Raghunath Das near him. He placed his lotus feet upon Raghunath Das's head and he began to speak. Listen to this benediction. My dear Raghunath Das, since you arranged the feast on the bank of the Ganga, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came here just to show you his mercy. And by his causeless mercy, he ate the chipped rice and milk. And then after seeing the dancing of the devotees at night, then he took his supper. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Gaura Hari, came here personally to deliver you. Now rest assured that all the impediments meant for your bondage are gone. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will accept you and place you under the charge of his secretary, Swarup Damodar. You will thus become one of the most confidential internal servants and you will attain shelter at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Being assured of all of this, return to your own home. Very soon, without impediments, you will attain shelter at the lotus feet of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then, Lord Nityananda had Raghunath Das blessed by all the devotees, and Raghunath Das offered his respects to their lotus feet. And after taking leave of Lord Nityananda Prabhu, and then all the other Vaishnavas, Sri Raghunath Das consulted secretly with Raghava Pandit. After consulting with Raghava Pandit, he secretly delivered 100 gold coins and about 7 tolas of gold into the hands of Nityananda Prabhu's treasurer. Raghunath Das admonished the treasurer, do not speak about this to Lord Nityananda Prabhu now, but when he returns home, kindly inform him about this presentation. And thereupon, Raghava Pandit took Raghunath Das to his home and after inducing him to see the deity, he gave Raghunath Das a garland and sandalwood pulp. And he gave Raghunath Das a large quantity of prasadam to eat on his way home. And then Raghunath Das again spoke to Raghava Pandit, and he said, I want to give money, he said, just to worship the lotus feet of the great devotees, the servants and the subservients of Lord Nityananda Prabhu. As you think fit, give 20, 15, 12, 10 or 5 coins to each of them. Then Raghunath Das drew up an account of the amount to be given and submitted it to Raghava Pandit, who then made up a list to show how much money was to be paid to each and every devotee. And with great humility, Raghunath Das placed 100 gold coins and about 2 tolas of gold before Raghava Pandit for all the other devotees. So after taking dust from the feet of Raghava Pandit, Raghunath Das returned to his home feeling greatly obligated to Lord Nityananda Prabhu because of having received his merciful benediction. And from that day on, he did not go into the interior section of the house. Instead, he would sleep on the Durga Mandap, the place where Mother Durga was worshipped. And there, however, the watchmen alertly kept guard. And Raghunath Das was thinking of various means by which to escape their vigilance. So at that time, all the devotees of Bengal were going to Jagannath Puri to see Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Raghunath Das could not accompany them, for they were so famous that he would have been caught immediately. So thus Raghunath Das thought deeply about how to escape, and one night, while he was sleeping on the Durga Mandap, the priest, Yadunandan Acharya, entered the house when only 4 dandas remained until the end of the night. Yadunandan Acharya was the priest and the spiritual master of Raghunath Das. Although he was born in a Brahmin family, he had accepted the mercy of Vasudeva Datta. He was the disciple of Vasudeva Datta. So Yadunandan Acharya had been officially initiated by Advaita Acharya. And thus he considered Lord Chaitanya his life and soul. So when Yadunandan Acharya entered the house of Raghunath Das and he stood in the courtyard, then Raghunath Das went there and he fell down to offer his obeisances. And one of Yadunandan Acharya's disciples had been worshipping the deity but had left that service. Yadunandan Acharya wanted Raghunath Das to induce the disciple to take up that service again. So Yadunandan Acharya requested Raghunath Das, please induce the Brahmana to resume the service, for there is no other Brahmin to do it. After saying this, Yadunandan Acharya took Raghunath Das with him and he went out. So by that time, all the watchmen were deeply asleep because it was the end of the night. East of the house of Raghunath Das was the house of Yadunandan Acharya, and Yadunandan Acharya and Raghunath Das talked together as they went toward that house. Then halfway along the path, Raghunath Das submitted at the lotus feet of his spiritual master, O Gurudev, I shall go to the home of that Brahmin, induce him to return and send him to your home. You may go home without anxiety. Following your order, I shall persuade the Brahmin. On this plea, after asking permission, Raghunath Das decided to go away. Raghunath Das thought, this is the greatest opportunity to go away because this time there are no servants or watchmen with me. Thinking in this way, he quickly proceeded toward the east, and sometimes he turned around and looked back, but no one was following him. Thinking of the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda Prabhu, he left the general path and he proceeded with great haste on the one not generally used. And giving up the general path from village to village, he passed through the jungles, thinking with heart and soul about the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He walked about 30 miles in one day, and in the evening he took rest in the cowshed of a milkman. When the milkman saw that Raghunath Das was fasting, he gave him some milk. Raghunath Das drank the milk. He lay down to rest there for the night. And at the house of Raghunath Das, the servant and watchman not seeing him there, immediately went to inquire about him from his spiritual master, Yadunandanacharya. Yadunandanacharya said, "He has already asked my permission, and he has returned home." And thus there arose a tumultuous sound as everyone cried, "Now Raghunath has gone away!" What did they say?
Now Raghunath has gone away.
Then Raghunath Das's father said, "Now all the devotees from Bengal have gone to Jagannath Puri to see Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Raghunath Das has fled with them. 10 men should immediately go catch him and bring him back." Raghunath Das's father wrote a letter to Shivananda Sen, asking him with great humility, "Please return my son." In Jankara, the 10 men caught up with a group of Vaishnavas going to Nilachala. And after delivering the letter, the men inquired from Shivananda Sen about Raghunath Das, but Shivananda Sen replied, "He did not come here." Then Raghunath Das, who had been resting at the milkman's house, got up early in the morning. Instead of going to the east, he turned his face south and proceeded. He crossed Chhatrabhog, but instead of going on the general path, he proceeded on the path and that went from village to village. And not caring about eating, he traveled all day. Hunger was not an impediment, for his mind was concentrated upon obtaining shelter at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sometimes he chewed some fried grains, sometimes he cooked, sometimes he drank milk. In this way, he kept his life and soul together with whatever was available wherever he went. He reached Jagannath Puri in 12 days, but he could eat for only 3 days on the way. When Raghunath Das met Sri Chaitanya, are you ready for this now? The meeting of Raghunath Das Goswami with who? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Puri. When Raghunath Das met Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Lord was sitting with his companions, headed by Swarup Damodar. Staying at a distant place in the courtyard, he fell down to offer obeisances, and then Mukunda Datta said, "Here is Raghunath." And as soon as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard these words, he immediately welcomed Raghunath Das. "Come here." He said, Raghunath Das then clasped the lotus feet of the Lord, but the Lord stood up and he embraced him out of his causeless mercy. Would you like to be embraced by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu?
Yes.
Then Raghunath Das offered prayers at the lotus feet of all the devotees headed by Swarup Damodar Goswami. Seeing the special mercy Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had bestowed upon Raghunath Das, they embraced him also. Then Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "The mercy of Lord Krishna is stronger than anything else. Therefore the Lord has delivered you from the ditch of materialistic life, which is like a hole into which people cast stools." Then Raghunath Das answered within his mind he answered, "I do not know who Krishna is. I simply know that your mercy, O my Lord, has saved me from my family life." Then the Lord continued, "Your father and his elder brother are both related as brothers to my grandfather, Nilambar Chakravarti, and therefore I consider them my grandfathers. So since your father and his elder brother are younger brothers of Nilambar Chakravarti, I may joke about them in this way. My dear Raghunath Das, your father and his elder brother, are you ready for this? Here's Mahaprabhu describing to Raghunath about his father and elder brother. But what did Mahaprabhu say just before he's about to describe this?
Household life is like
No, what did he say about his relationship with them?
Like his grandfather.
Yes, yes. So, he said, because of this, I can joke with you, Raghunath. So now, he's going to joke about his father and elder brother. My dear Raghunath Das, your father and his elder brother are just like worms in stool in the ditch of material enjoyment. For the great disease of the poison of material enjoyment is what they consider happiness. Although your father and uncle are charitable to Brahmanas, and they greatly help them, but they are nevertheless not pure Vaishnavas. However, they are almost like Vaishnavas. And what is the word used? Vaishnaver Prai. Okay? Yeah. There's a very interesting purport by Srila Prabhupada about this statement. As stated by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Amrita Pravaha Bhashya, some people, usually very rich men, they dress like Vaishnavas and they give charity to Brahmanas. And they are also attached to deity worship, but because of their attachment to material enjoyment, they cannot be pure Vaishnavas. Anyavilashita shunyam jnana karmadhyanavritam. The pure Vaishnava has no desire for material enjoyment. That is the basic qualification of a pure Vaishnava. There are men, especially rich men, who regularly worship the deity. They give charity to Brahmanas and they are pious in every respect, but they cannot be pure Vaishnavas. So despite their outward show of Vaishnavism and charity, their inner desire is to enjoy a higher standard of material life. Raghunath Das's father, Govardhan, and uncle, Hiranya Das, they were both very charitable to Brahmanas, and indeed the Brahmins from the Gaudiya district were practically dependent upon them. Thus they were accepted as very pious gentlemen. However, they presented themselves as Vaishnavas to the eyes of people in general. And although from a purely spiritual point of view, they were ordinary human beings, not pure Vaishnavas. Actual Vaishnavas considered them almost Vaishnavas, not pure Vaishnavas. So in other words, they were Kanishta Adhikaris, for they were ignorant of higher Vaishnav regulated principles. Nevertheless, they could not be called Vishayis or blind materialistic enjoyers. Yes. So, then Mahaprabhu continued, however, they are almost like Vaishnavas. Those who are attached to materialistic life, and they are blind to spiritual life, they must act in such a way that they are bound to repeated birth and death by the actions and the reactions of their activities. But by His own free will, Lord Krishna has delivered you from such a condemned materialistic life, and therefore the glories of Lord Krishna's causeless mercy cannot be expressed. Now, seeing Raghunath Das skinny and dirty because of having traveled for 12 days and fasted, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his heart melting due to causeless mercy, spoke to Swarup Damodar. My dear Swarup, he said, I entrust this Raghunath Das to you. Please accept him as your son or servant. There are now 3 Raghunaths among my associates, and from this day forward, this Raghunath should be known as the Raghu of Swarup Damodar. Swaruper Raghu. And saying this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu grasped the hand of Raghunath Das and entrusted him to the hands of Swarup Damodar Goswami. Swarup Damodar Goswami accepted Raghunath Das, saying, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, whatever you order is accepted. And he then embraced Raghunath Das again. I cannot properly express the affection of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for his devotees. And being merciful toward Raghunath Das, the Lord spoke as follows to Govinda, his servant. On the way, Raghunath Das has fasted and undergone hardships for many days. Therefore, take good care of him for some days, so that he may eat to his satisfaction. And then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Raghunath, go bathe in the sea, then see Lord Jagannath in the temple, and return here to take your meal. And after saying this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu got up, went to perform his midday duties, and Raghunath Das met all the devotees present. Having seen the causeless mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu upon Raghunath Das, all the devotees, struck with wonder, praised his good fortune. So Raghunath Das took his bath in the sea and saw Lord Jagannath, and then he returned to Govinda, the personal servant of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, this was a bit of a long reading, but I'm happy that I had a chance to read. This is 212 shlokas from this chapter that we just read. And we heard the whole story in detail. So this is highly auspicious. All of us are supremely blessed to hear. This is the prelude to the entire story of Raghunath Das Goswami, and we know that after this, he began to live in Puri. He began to exhibit higher and higher and more extreme degrees of extreme renunciation. So that will be told on another day. Probably I'll finish in our class on Sunday, right? On Sunday. But this Sunday is also Snanayatra Day, correct? Snanayatra. There must be some big festival here in Mayapur. At the Jagannath? Oh, at the Jagannath! Yeah, the Jagannath temple! Wow, okay. You going for that?
We haven't planned yet.
Okay. So, now all the devotees have been fasting for many, many days, hearing about Raghunath Das Goswami's amazing, amazing journey and his receiving the blessings and mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu. So, on this day of Chiradahi festival, we are also very happy that we have a host in this household here that has desired to receive the punishment of Lord Nityananda. Yes, so he has also performed a very nice presentation of Mahaprasad that has been offered to the Lordship, right? Yes. So we will end this reading with a short kirtan, and then all the devotees can take what kind of festival Mahaprasadam, huh? What kind of prasadam?
Lasagna Prasad ki jai!
All right. Gaur Premanande! Shri Raghunath Das Goswami Pada ki jai! Jai Shri Nityananda Prabhu ki jai! Shri Gauranga Mahaprabhu ki jai! Chiradahi Festival ki jai! Pani Hati Dhamma ki jai! Nitai Gaur Premanande. Shri Gurudev ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Rupanuga Guru Varga ki jai. So, who will be?
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare
Jai Shri Raghunath Das Goswami Pada Ki Jai. Jai Chiradahi Lasagna Festival Ki Jai.